What if I told you that the only thing stopping us from eating ourselves is culture? Human-derived protein from Pluribus is fiction, but the technology certainly isn't. Cannibalism is arguably the most cross-culturally agreed on taboo on the planet. Only when circumstances become absolutely dire do we even start to consider it. But from an evolutionary point of view, that's not a given. Many animals, from fish and insects to spiders and even big predators like polar bears, will eat members of their own species when the opportunity presents itself. And if you just look at the numbers, our collective distaste for cannibalism comes at a huge cost. Rough estimates put the caloric content of an average adult human body at around 120,000 calories. Combine that with the roughly 150,000 people who die every day, and you end up with something like 19 billion calories wasted every single day. Based on a 2,000 calorie diet, that's enough energy to feed around 9.5 million people for an entire day. Of course, one of the things that sets us apart from animals is that we often act based on morals and values rather than pure survival instinct. And that's thankfully why industrialized cannibalism, like depicted in Vince Gilligan's Pluribus, remains in the realm of science fiction. But it's not as if we couldn't do it. In fact, the core technology behind human-derived protein already exists and is used every single day. We just don't use it on humans, and when we do, we definitely don't use it for consumption. In episode 6 of Pluribus, the protagonist Carol Sturka is horrified when she discovers a warehouse full of shrink-wrapped corpses meant for human consumption. Carol is one of only 12 unjoined humans after an alien virus turned the rest of the planet into a hive mind. By documenting the hive's questionable diet on video, she is sure the other survivors will finally be convinced to help her undo the joining. But the problem is, they already know.
It's about them eating people.
And instead, she's the one who's shown a video. The hive speaks through WWE star John Cena to explain the situation. He says the hive can purposely kill, harm, or otherwise interfere with any form of life, which even includes plucking an apple from a tree. So they have to live off stockpiled food and windfall like fallen apples. But unfortunately, that's nowhere near enough to feed everyone. And the result is that a huge caloric deficit will eventually lead to mass starvation. So they come up with a solution, which is HDP, or human-derived protein. In the show, every day, roughly 100,000 people die of natural causes or accidents. And instead of letting those bodies go to waste, the hive collects the remains and renders them in factories, like the one Carol saw. And the result is an oily, amber-colored liquid that now serves as their main food source. Turning dead people into a protein smoothie to prevent mass starvation is obviously fiction, but the techniques they use to turn those bodies into a nutrient-rich liquid are very real. They are called thermal, enzymatic, and alkaline hydrolysis. Slaughterhouses are full of things we don't want to eat. You can think of blood, bones, fat, skin, feathers, you name it. And instead of throwing it all away, these leftovers are often used to produce animal food. And to do that, they first use a technique called thermal hydrolysis, which is basically industrialized pressure cooking. Leftovers like blood, fat, and skin go into a sealed container and are heated under pressure, so they get much hotter than boiling water in a normal pot. The main idea is to soften the tissue and to break the cells open, so the proteins and fats locked inside become more accessible. On top of that comes a process called enzymatic hydrolysis. Once the material has been cooked into a soft mush, most of the protein is still there. It's just tied up in long chains that animals don't digest very efficiently. So natural enzymes are added to cut those long protein chains into smaller fragments. And this step actually mimics what stomach enzymes do in animals. It starts the digestion process in the factory instead of in the gut. So it makes the remaining nutrients easier to absorb. And because enzymes work at relatively low temperatures, this step doesn't need much extra heat. It just focuses on getting more out of the nutrients that survive the initial cooking. Then there's alkaline hydrolysis. This is the chemically boosted high pH version of the same idea. Remains go into hot water with a small amount of a very strong cleaning chemical that pushes the pH way up on the alkaline side of the scale and together with heat makes the soft parts break down and come off the bones much easier than they would in a grave. This chemistry is used to turn feathers into fish food, but it's also used on humans. And in that case, we call it water cremation or aquamation. In the human version, the setup looks like a high-end industrial dishwasher, but the principle remains the same. A sealed steel tube, hot alkaline water, a few hours of circulation, and at the end, softened bones that can be dried and ground into a fine white powder. And this white powder is then returned to the family, just like cremation ash. So why would you do this? Well, people do this for two main reasons. First of all, it's marketed as a gentler and more natural version of flame cremation, which uses a fossil fuel furnace at around 800 to 1000 degrees Celsius. And second, it also has a much smaller environmental footprint because energy use and carbon emissions are a fraction of that of flame cremation. There's no chimney, no direct smoke, and no mercury from dental fillings going into the air. The process is newer and more expensive in many places, and it's still only legal in parts of the US, Canada, and a handful of other countries. And the reason that it's not legal everywhere is because people are a little uncomfortable with one detail. In the end, there isn't just ash, there's also a tank of brownish liquid that has to go somewhere, and that currently ends up in our sewer systems. When alkaline hydrolysis is used on dead animals or lab waste, that leftover liquid is sometimes discussed as a possible fertilizer, because it's rich in nitrogen and other nutrients. But for human remains, the rules are much stricter. Only the ground bone is kept or buried, and the liquid is treated as ordinary wastewater, so it's not something that could ever come back as food. So to wrap it all up, Pluribus shows a warehouse full of dead bodies that are turned into food. And that feels very unreal, but almost every step in that process already exists. We already use pressure, heat, enzymes, and strong chemicals to break down animal remains and even human bodies. The difference is simply that we have decided where to draw the line. And yeah, if you've made it this far, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel because it really helps me out a lot, and I hope to see you in the next one.